The American presidency is once again at the center of a legal storm. The very foundations of executive power are being tested in ways never seen before, as the nation grapples with questions that cut to the core of its democracy. Since returning to the White House, Donald Trump has faced a barrage of lawsuits, fundamental challenges to presidential power. Each day brings new legal hurdles, with opponents and supporters alike watching every move, knowing that the outcomes could reshape the office itself. His administration's rapid executive orders have redrawn government authority, triggering hundreds of lawsuits nationwide. These legal actions span everything from immigration to national security, and from economic policy to civil rights, creating a complex web of litigation. This is not politics as usual. The volume and scope of these legal battles are unprecedented. Never before has a president's agenda been so aggressively challenged in courtrooms across the country, with so many cases moving forward at once. Every major action sparks a new court case, making the judiciary the main battleground. Judges and lawyers are now at the forefront, interpreting the limits of executive authority in real time. Judges now weigh presidential authority against the rule of law, with outcomes that will shape the presidency for generations. Their decisions will set precedents, influencing not just this administration, but all those that follow. The legal system, once slow and deliberate, is now thrust into a fast-paced, high-stakes role. Courtrooms are filled with urgency, as lawyers and clerks scramble to keep up with the relentless pace of new filings and hearings. At the heart of it all, how much power should one person, the president, really have? The answer to this question will define the balance between leadership and accountability for years to come. These battles pit the president's vision against a determined legal opposition. The clash is fierce, with both sides convinced that the future of American democracy hangs in the balance. The stakes are not just about policy, they're about the enduring strength of America's democratic institutions. The Constitution, the courts, and the very idea of checks and balances are all being put to the test. The nation watches as the courts navigate this turbulent, uncharted legal territory, knowing that the decisions made now will echo through history and shape the presidency for generations to come. The latest flashpoint in the ongoing debate over federal power is a stunning federal court ruling that has sent shockwaves through the nation's political landscape. This decision directly challenges President Trump's authority to deploy the National Guard in American cities, raising urgent questions about the limits of executive power during times of unrest. The administration's controversial deployments, often made over the strong objections of local leaders and city officials, were blocked by a federal judge in Chicago, setting the stage for a monumental legal and political confrontation. This ruling stands as a rare and significant judicial check on the president's domestic use of military force, asserting that there are real limits when state and local leaders object to federal intervention in their communities. Civil liberties groups and local officials are hailing the decision as a major victory for federalism and the rights of states to govern their own affairs without undue interference from Washington. In response, the administration moved quickly, filing an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court in hopes of continuing the deployments while the legal battle plays out in the nation's highest court. The Supreme Court's upcoming decision could fundamentally redefine the balance of power between the White House and the states, setting a precedent that will echo for generations. At stake is a critical constitutional question. Can a president deploy military forces within a state against the explicit wishes of its governor and local authorities? The answer will have profound and lasting implications for civil-military relations, the separation of powers, and the very fabric of the American Republic. If the court sides with the administration, executive power could expand dramatically, giving future presidents far greater authority to intervene in domestic affairs. If not, it will reaffirm the enduring limits on presidential authority. The nation now waits anxiously for a landmark ruling that could shape American democracy for years to come. The National Guard case is just one front in Trump's multi-pronged legal war. Major conflicts include his power to fire federal officials, with a key case that could overturn decades of agency independence. Immigration is another battleground, with lawsuits over birthright, citizenship, mass raids, and revoking protected status for thousands. The administration's restructuring of government, including the controversial Department of Government Efficiency, has sparked further legal challenges. Mass layoffs and data access by new agencies are under court scrutiny. Civil rights cases are also front and center, especially policies affecting transgender Americans. The Supreme Court has allowed bans on transgender military service and passport changes based on sex assigned at birth. Each case tests the boundaries of executive power and the Constitution. The courts are now the ultimate arbiters of these deep national divisions. At the heart of these battles is a clash between expansive executive power and determined legal resistance. Trump's administration argues the president should have broad authority to act decisively, sweeping aside bureaucratic obstacles. Opponents insist on checks and balances, warning that unchecked power threatens democracy. This conflict plays out daily. Executive orders spark lawsuits, judges issue injunctions, and appeals race to higher courts. The cycle is now Washington's new normal, a high-stakes legal chess match. The core issue separation of powers. The administration pushes for a more unified executive. The resistance defends traditional limits. Courts must draw the line between legitimate authority and overreach. Their decisions will define the powers and limits of future presidents. The shape of American government hangs in the balance. Leading the legal resistance is Democracy Forward, a progressive group coordinating hundreds of advocacy organizations. With a rapidly growing staff and millions in funding, they file high-profile lawsuits to block what they see as unlawful executive actions. Skye Perryman, their CEO, frames these battles as a defining test for American democracy. She argues that the courts must protect constitutional principles from executive overreach. Democracy Forward's financial strength allows sustained, complex litigation against the federal government. Conservative legal groups, meanwhile, defend the president's actions as a rightful reassertion of executive authority. The result, a starkly divided legal landscape, with both sides fighting fiercely over the Constitution's meaning. The courts are the final battleground for these competing visions. The Supreme Court is now the ultimate destination for these legal battles. The Trump administration frequently turns to the court's emergency shadow docket to pause lower court rulings. The conservative majority has often sided with the administration, allowing contested policies to proceed. Recent examples include green-lighting the dismantling of the Department of Education and permitting controversial firings and immigration raids. Each intervention lets Trump's policies take effect immediately, despite ongoing legal challenges. The court's actions have drawn public scrutiny. Approval ratings are near historic lows, and many see the court as too conservative. Critics warn the court is at a crossroads. Will it preserve checks and balances or enable expanded presidential power? Its legitimacy as an impartial arbiter is now in question. Legal battles between the White House and the judiciary aren't new, but today's scale is unprecedented. The sheer number and intensity of these confrontations have reached levels never before seen in American history, drawing the attention of citizens and legal scholars alike. Past cases, like Truman's failed steel mill seizure and Nixon's Watergate tapes, set limits on executive power. These moments established crucial precedents, reminding the nation that even the president is not above the law. Those showdowns were singular. Trump faces dozens of simultaneous high-stakes cases across policy areas. From election disputes to questions of personal conduct, the breadth of legal scrutiny is unprecedented for a sitting or former president. This constant legal conflict strains the entire judicial system. Courts are forced to respond rapidly, sometimes with little precedent to guide them, and the pressure on judges and legal staff is immense. The administration's strategic use of the Supreme Court's emergency docket is a modern twist, making rapid intervention routine. This fast-track process, once rare, is now a frequent tool for shaping national policy before full legal arguments are even heard. With a more ideologically aligned court, the dynamic has shifted. The makeup of the bench now plays a more visible role in the outcomes of these urgent cases, fueling debate about impartiality and fairness. The court, once a neutral referee, is now seen by many as an active participant. Public trust in the judiciary is being tested as its decisions increasingly shape the nation's political landscape. Its early decisions often allow administration policies to take root before full arguments are heard. These preliminary rulings can have lasting impacts, sometimes setting the tone for future legal battles. This new reality raises questions about the balance of power and the court's role in shaping it. As the lines between branches blur, the debate over checks and balances grows more urgent. The stakes for American democracy have never been higher. The outcome of these legal battles will help define the limits of presidential power and the future of the nation's constitutional order. The country stands at a crossroads, with the courts poised to shape the future. If the Supreme Court continues siding with the administration, presidential power could expand dramatically, altering the balance of government. If legal resistance prevails, traditional checks and balances will be reaffirmed, but political gridlock may intensify. The judiciary's legitimacy is also at stake. If seen as political, calls for court reform will grow. Each ruling now writes a new chapter in America's story. Will the nation embrace stronger executive authority or reinforce separated powers? The legal showdowns are far from over, and the nation watches as history unfolds.